move my screen here for a second. So yeah, my name is Philip Crout. I am a sales team lead at GreenGeeks. So in the before times, I've had the opportunity of going to a lot of WordCamps in person, meeting a lot of people, and then just making a lot of great connections and just seeing what the community is all about. And then today, I am fortunate enough to be able to talk to you guys about things to look out for when you're selecting a web hosting provider. So I don't have slides, but I will just have a conversation here about web hosting, stuff to look out for, things that we have going on for Black Friday and such. And all this talk about hosting sort of reminds me of a quote, if the plan doesn't work, change the plan, not the goal. So just by a show of Zoom hands here, how many people have personally shopped for hosting or actively looking for a hosting provider right now? Okay, and then how many people here are new to WordPress and WordPress hosting? Perfect. So you're in the right place then, because tonight I would like to help guide you in finding the right hosting provider, especially for WordPress. So for those who don't know me, except Joe and Erica, my name is Philip. So first off, thank you all for taking the time to join me this evening. I am sure rush hour traffic tonight was a nightmare. I appreciate all those who could make it today. I know there was some scheduling confusion yesterday, and if you're not here today, rest assured that this conversation is being recorded for reference and quality assurance purposes. Also a special shout out and thank you to Joe Simpson and the entire Santa Clarita WordCamp team for inviting me. So as we move forward, I will be sharing what I've learned from my half-decade experience working with customers looking for a place to publish their websites. I will be primarily focused on WordPress cPanel hosting. However, a lot of this advice can apply to other projects as well. You do not need to be a tech expert to build a website or understand what I'm talking about. I will try to cover the most common features, questions, misconceptions, and tips that have helped foster the success of our own customers for over 10 years. So here's what you should expect in the coming half hour. I will provide a quick primer on web hosting for those who are unaware of what it is or who are relatively new to the field. I will introduce GreenGeeks, such as who we are, how we started, what makes us unique. We will cover the basic ingredients that go into any online web presence. And given the holiday sales are approaching and Black Friday, I'm sure you would like to know what to look for when picking a provider. And lastly, I'll be happy to let you know what we have going on for ourselves for Black Friday and what GreenGeeks has to offer, along with a demo of our customer portal and control panel and sort of the general workflow as a hosting user you might experience. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, we will make time for you at the end. I'll also give you my email if you prefer to let me know at a later point. So yeah, this is my first presentation for WordCamp. Please be gentle, but I appreciate all the feedback. So what is web hosting? The internet is a large place. You may have visited a website here or there in your lifetime, and if not, I would seriously recommend it. It's safe to say at this point it's more than just a fad. But in order to be accessible, these websites need a physical place to reside, somewhere where the data can be hosted and served to users who want to access it. Hosting is essentially responsible for this. Hosting is servers, computers that are on all the time, ready to be accessed by people with the right address. For example, if you type google.com in your browser, your computer looks it up on a digital phone book, the domain name servers. It locates the corresponding server it's associated with and then presents the website within. In the broadest sense, web hosting comes in a variety of different forms depending on your use case. We have shared hosting, we have reseller hosting, VPS hosting, dedicated hosting. There are website builder services that you guys may have seen, like Weebly and Wix and all that. And then there's cloud, specialized app, and enterprise hosting. You may be asking if you are still relatively new, like what this means. And essentially, it's how these computers are configured to fit various use cases. For example, with shared hosting, this is the most common hosting type. You have a single physical server that's configured to host multiple independent websites and clients. For reseller hosting, it's something similar. This allows hosting companies to wholesale its services and allow their reseller customers to provision or sell individual hosting accounts to other people. With VPS hosting or virtual private server hosting, it's a private server environment that gives customers complete and refined administrative control. It's appropriate for demanding and sophisticated applications. Dedicated server hosting, it's basically it's still a private environment, but at this time you have the access to an entire physical server box. And then website builder services. I just want to touch on these a tiny bit. Like, you may have seen ads for these companies, some of these companies, have Space or Squares or Wobbly or Play Tricks. I won't say their names, but they essentially offer these drag and drop website builders that make creating a website easy, but at the cost of being locked into their systems and preventing you from moving it elsewhere. So if you are planning on building a site that you want to maintain and keep for the long term, and then you expect it to grow and you want to make changes, you want to be very flexible in the changes you make to it in the future, I would typically recommend against going with these type of services, as once you are in their system, you are basically in there for good, unless you really want to spend the time rebuilding your site. And then there are also cloud, app, and enterprise hosting. These are mainly designed for large-scale applications or niche use, and not really useful if you're starting off to hosting a modest website. So a bit about our company in GreenGeeks, as you see there on your screen. Do we have any GreenGeeks customers in the audience today, or has anyone here ever reviewed our services or seen us around? Joe, perfect. Yeah, so GreenGeeks is an independent green energy web hosting provider established in California in 2008 by Trey Gardner, who is our CEO, and then Camille Patel. The company has been around for over 10 years, running a completely remote workforce in North America, Asia, and Europe. We host well over 500,000 websites in our US, Canadian, and European data centers. Us being an indie hosting provider these days has its advantages. We're not at the mercy of shareholders or corporate overhead. While there are certain companies out there that spend their time on mergers and acquisitions, this introduces a whole range of instability and uncertainty for their customers. We prefer to spend our time making sure our clients receive the best hosting service and support in the industry. Our business, as Joe mentioned, is customer success. So let's rewind for a second. You may have asked, what is green hosting? This is a question we get asked a lot, actually. GreenGeeks was originally founded with the idea that the collective CO2 output of data centers would rival or even surpass that of the airline industry in the year 2020. A common misconception is that going digital is inherently eco-friendly, when in reality, a lot of energy is spent trying to build, maintain, and cool large server farms. So we want to curb this by recontributing 3 times the amount of energy our servers consume back into renewable energy sources. We have relationships with both the Bonneville Environmental Foundation, who manage wind farms and green energy projects throughout the US, and the US EPA's Green Power Partnership Program, who audit our consumption and certify our contribution to wind energy projects. What this means essentially is that the websites on our platform are not only carbon neutral, they are carbon negative. Since we run a completely remote workforce worldwide, we also reduce the amount of resources consumed that would have been used trying to maintain corporate office space, reduce the commutes and emissions that would have been if we had a local workforce, find talent. We can find talent anywhere we want in the world. We're not restricted by by any regional or geographic restrictions. We pass these cost savings and benefits over to our customers. So what do you need to publish a website? In order to publish a website online, you need a few components. You need a domain name. So this is how people will remember and access your site. For example, it's your .com, your .net, your .ca, your .info, your .xyz. You should have a basic understanding of how your website will be built. So are you using WordPress? Are you using some other PHP application? Are you building your website with some other builder? And third, you need a web hosting provider. And this is where the files and data for your site will reside. So step 1 is getting a domain name. A domain name is important because this is how people will remember and access your website. When picking a domain, you will want to make it something memorable, short, easy to pronounce. This way you can give it out to people verbally with minimal opportunity for misinterpretation. Many of the common extensions, also known as top-level domains or TLDs, may have come across our .com, .net, .info. However, these are depleting every day as they are the oldest extensions with the most popular demand. To address this, more domain extensions are continually being added and approved and added to the internet namespace. There are quite literally hundreds of options to choose from. So if your .com is not available, well, you can certainly find something else with a different extension. To register a domain, you need to visit a domain registrar. Many hosting companies work with registrars to provide domain registration services, and many registrars offer hosting services as well. It doesn't really matter where you get your domain, in my opinion. I would suggest that you get it where it's cheaper, so long as the registrar is ICANN accredited. Some hosting companies offer special deals too for free domain registrations that make it easy to manage billing under one roof. But you can absolutely have your domain and hosting with two separate companies. That is completely normal and common practice. So step 2 is how you want to build your website. So before you pick a host, I would suggest at minimum to have a basic understanding on what tools you want to use to build your site. For example, if you want to use WordPress, there are plenty of hosts out there that support WordPress sites. However, if you want to build an ASP.NET site or app, for example, you'll need a Windows Server hosting, which is slightly more niche and different. Rest assured, though, a lot of hosts run multiple applications. So if you want to use WordPress, but you also have your eye on some other PHP software, you can likely run that as well. Third, the web hosting provider, now that you have your domain name and you know how your site is being built, it's time to pick a host. At the beginning stages, there are two environments that you may run into most commonly. The first one is Linux hosting, so generally referred to as LAMP, which stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, or MariaDB, PHP, and some other added software to that stack as well. And then there's also Windows hosting. You might run into that. It's primarily for .NET framework applications. With some rare exceptions, you'll most always want Linux hosting. The majority of hosting companies run Linux hosting environments to host PHP applications, including WordPress. It's almost sort of the default type of hosting you'll encounter here. So what do you need in a host? Now that we're on sort of step 3 here, what exactly are we looking for when selecting a provider to use WordPress? And one thing I tell customers when I work with them, and one thing I really want to clarify is there's no perfect company or single solution for every single project. Every hosting company has their respective strengths. Everyone has their shortfalls. As with everything, it's about finding the right tool for the job you want to do. That being said, what we can do is help get the best starting point with key features to look for, and your needs will evolve with your website, and that's completely okay. First things first, as this is probably one of the first points of confusion somebody runs into when they're dealing with WordPress. For the very first time, WordPress.com is not WordPress.org. They are not the same. Let's just get that out of the way right now. They are two completely different services. WordPress.com is a hosting company itself with their own implementation of WordPress, of the WordPress software that you will pay for as a service with limited features. WordPress.org is the open source project, the full version that we've all come to know and love, the version that can be installed at your provider of choice. When they talk about WordPress, we're always talking about the WordPress.org version. That being said, you'll probably need to figure out what type of hosting you want. There are many options. Do we choose shared hosting? What about VPS hosting? What about WordPress dedicated hosting? Let's assume you're just getting started and you have a relatively small WordPress site, or you have yet to build one. Given this, the majority of the time, I would recommend shared hosting as a starting point. But don't worry, a great thing about WordPress is that it's portable. So if your needs evolve, you can always change and upgrade in the future. Now, why do I recommend shared hosting for a lot of use cases? Shared hosting has received a bad reputation in the past for being cheap and unreliable. And you see a lot of these unlimited plans with certain conditions. In the old days, if you were sharing a server with other users and someone decided to hog server resources, a lot of sites would risk going down when the server was throttled. But today, in a practical sense, shared hosting is a very viable option, even for some relatively larger sites. With GreenGeeks, for example, our technology has changed to address these shortfalls. Although we do offer shared hosting, they are provisioned in a virtualized, isolated file systems, guaranteeing independent resource allocation and malware protection from the actions of other users on the same physical machine. Shared hosting is a cost-effective and widely accessible option for many regular use cases, such as informational sites, blogs, e-commerce. Being widely supported and managed makes it a fantastic starting point for many projects. There's a reason it's still being offered today. Of course, if you think your needs are different and require a different type of hosting, if you're just unsure, feel free to contact your provider and speak with a specialist who can review your needs and point you in the right direction. So let's say we're looking for a hosting company. We came across something on Google or through a review site. What would be the sort of the general steps that you would take, or I would recommend that you take in order to sort of just get a feel for the company that you're possibly doing business with? So once you have found a company, do some quick background research. Who are they? Where are they located? How long have they been around? What's the reputation in the industry? It's extremely easy to set up a hosting company, so it's important to figure out who you're actually dealing with. Are you choosing an established company who is accountable and has your best interests in mind? Or are you choosing a new fly-by-night operation that can disappear with your website any minute? When you're in this stage, feel free to check out multiple review sources. However, do take them with a grain of salt. Review sites like Yelp, for example, can be useful as a reference as an outlet for customers who voice their praise and concern. But there's an inherent bias here. Customers who have negative experiences are more likely to be vocal and leave bad reviews, while the majority of satisfied customers do not. So just be mindful that you might not be getting the full picture. Also, be aware of review sites. A lot of postings may be sponsored or even be affiliate farms, meaning that they get a commission for sales that they've referred from their website. There are also instances where a lot of hosting companies listed are owned by a single company. So you're essentially, choosing between different versions of the same company. So, you're not really getting a lot of choice there. Another thing that you want to look for, after you've established sort of the reputation of the company is you want to get a feel for what their support and uptime is like and what kind of management that they offer on their servers. You reviewed a company's background. Now we'll sort of dig a bit deeper into their actual services. What kind of support do they offer? Do they have a service level agreement and server uptime guarantee? At minimum, you'll want to work with a company that can offer a 99.9% server uptime guarantee. At this point, it's so common that it's virtually an industry standard. Server uptime guarantees hold a host responsible for ensuring that servers on their end are kept online and under normal network conditions. Although it's important to note that this does not cover downtime caused by user error. It's also important to note that this is not in the unlikely event that the data center network does go down, then you can make a claim with your host. However, if a server goes down for scheduled maintenance or due to a resource spike from an unoptimized script from a user, for example, then there's usually no coverage there. So as for the company support team, what are their hours of operation? You want to know how is their support administered? Is it through telephone? Is it through ticket, through live chat? Say, for example, you're working on a client's website at 2 in the morning and then something blows up. Well, do you pick up the phone and call them, or do you shoot them an email hoping that they'll get back to you the next day? So when it comes to support, so many reliable providers now offer 24/7 support that why would you settle for anything less? And finally, to the last point of this section here, support ties into our last point, server management. When picking a plan, I recommend choosing a service that is fully managed, especially if you're just starting out, meaning that the hosting provider handles a lot of server maintenance tasks and provides active help when you need it. This is opposed to an unmanaged service where you're completely responsible for maintaining, patching, updating, configuring the server, or if something goes wrong, you call the support team only to figure out that they're very limited in what they're able to do. So, just be mindful of that if you're new or you're just getting started, or you really just, you yourself, if you're a professional who's done this for years, and you really don't want to spend time dealing with server maintenance, leave it to a company that's been doing this for decades. So after you've established those sort of the reputation, sort of how the company administers and manages their support and what their service level agreements are, it's a good idea to take a look at the control panel that they're using. So the control panel can be one of the more important features when selecting a provider. This is basically the primary interface you'll use to configure your hosting account. The control panel helps make it easy to navigate a lot of common server tasks like adding domains to your account or creating email addresses, managing FTP accounts, modifying DNS zone files and installing scripts like WordPress, monitoring your resource usage. The most popular control panel, which a lot of you guys have probably already heard of, is cPanel. So cPanel is the de facto industry standard used by the majority of hosting companies. It's intuitive and easy to use for beginners. The fact that it's so popular can benefit you, as many hosts are trained on it already and can in a way help a lot when transferring to different providers. For example, if you're with one host who uses cPanel, let's say you have several different websites attached to that account, you have a bunch of different email addresses and inboxes, you have a whole bunch of custom DNS configurations and all that, but you plan to move to another host that uses cPanel, migration can be as easy as a click of a few buttons to back up the original account and restore it with the new provider. It's likely too that the new provider can do this for you so long as you provide the original cPanel login credentials. This way, you don't even have to worry about moving the data yourself. Somebody can, just do it for you. And, if they mess it up, it's on them. So there are other control panels out there like Direct Admin, Plesk. Many other hosting companies now are even creating their own in-house control panels that may offer less flexibility depending on your use case. But that's like also one thing too I want to stress when you're choosing a provider is it's about finding the right tool for the job. So whatever your workflow is, your mileage may vary. Also, when you're selecting a web hosting provider, it's important to take a look at the server resources and I want to say performance, but in a way, like I'll touch on this in a bit. Resources play a critical role in the function and performance of your website. However, they are not an absolute indicator of how well a site will run. Generally speaking, and very generally speaking, the more traffic you receive or the more scripts you run on your site, the more resources you'll need. It's important to note performance itself is a shared effort between the hosting company and the webmaster. The hosting company does its best to provide a stable hosting environment. So, we provide the resources, tools, caching, the stack, the database engine. We want to run an optimized environment for people to run their websites. On the other side, a big factor in performance is how well a website is optimized to make proper use of the provided resources. For example, a well-optimized site on a cheap shared hosting plan can outperform a poorly optimized site on a VPS. The common terms you'll see for resource capacity on a server usually are disk space. So, if you're like looking for a host and you want to sort of understand what all these terms mean, disk space is the amount of storage your server has. So all the files, videos, pictures, database size, everything you upload, this counts against storage. A lot of companies such as GreenGeeks offer storage through solid state drives. SSDs offer a higher throughput than traditional hard drives and can give you give a slight performance edge for many sites. You also have bandwidth. So you may also see this referred to as data transfer. Just like your phone's data plan, this is the amount of data transferred between the server and computer. For example, if you upload a 700 megabyte file to your server, you'll use 700 megabytes of bandwidth. If someone visits your website and accesses a 1 megabyte page, they will have used 1 megabyte of bandwidth. Now we also have CPU. So CPU refers to the number of central processing units that are available for your accounts, server requests. Requests can be a number of things such as delivering content to site visitors, database writing, script processing, or loading RAM with data. The CPU is the foundation of the rest of your account's resources. Now we also have RAM, also known as memory or random access memory. It can be a very critical part of your server. RAM is the quickest option when it comes to loading data for your website. More RAM means less stress on your CPU when it comes to the when it comes to the amount of data it must convert from hard storage. Scripts such as PHP will have a much more much more time to work before running out of space. Increasing RAM allows the server to handle more complex jobs and in general run faster. You also have I/O, so that's input and output. It's essentially the speed of which your data travels when it's moving from hard memory to RAM. So increasing I/O speed will make the process much faster. And then we have files, which for some hosts can be a bit controversial. When referring to file usage, we're talking about the number of inodes on the account. It's important to understand that an inode is a lot more than just a file. It's a data point used to reference a directory or a file in a Linux system. The issue of file usage becomes more complex when you realize that a number of different inodes can reference the same directory or file. The specifics on this can be a bit confusing, but it's accurate to say that the number of inodes will generally equal the number of directories and the number of files. Then you also have entry processes, which represent the number of simultaneous connections your account can handle at any one time. It's important to understand that what constitutes such a connection. So let's take a closer look. Let's say having data delivered by HTTP, having data transferred by your hosting account through SSH, processing a cron job. It's important to realize that these connections only count when they're processing. Once they've completed, they're no longer considered a process. And so for some other quick performance tips, you can help reduce the burden of your server's resources and even increase the speed of your site by using, caching plugins. Like for WordPress, there's LS Cache. Like on our servers, we run Lightspeed Web Server in conjunction with LS Cache by default for all our plans, which helps preload commonly used content to be retrieved and accessed faster. There's also something a lot of hosts provide that is called the Content Delivery Network, or CDN for short, which provides a layer of specialized servers between the users accessing your site and your primary server. And so by regulating the flow of inbound traffic, it can help reduce the strain on your server resources as people are visiting your website, and the CDN will serve some of the data rather than your primary web server. And another important thing when you're picking a web host is you want to take a look at their backup and security policies. People they never really realize the importance of backups until it's too late, until all their data is gone and it can't be retrieved. When picking a host, make sure that they're keeping disaster recovery backups. We do ours nightly, but it allows you to make sure that they also allow you to generate your own. Although a host may keep backups, do not rely on this. You want redundancy. So keep your own, but use the host's copy as a last resort. For security, look for a host that does active malware scanning and server monitoring. However, don't think of this as an excuse not to update your site. Good hosts can help identify and prevent issues before they become problems. In the event of something gets through and exploits your site or does go wrong, inquire about their cleaning policy, and they may be able to help you fix it. There are some issues where if you ask a host nicely and they see a minor malware issue, they'll get that fixed for you, while other hosts, they see a minor malware issue and then they'll want to charge you for some additional services to get rid of it. So just be mindful of that. It doesn't hurt to ask. As for SSL certificates, also known as HTTPS, with the popularity of Let's Encrypt, there's no excuse for any host not to offer a free option anymore. So find a host that offers a free SSL certificate in addition to paid options. The reason I mentioned paid options are there are some specific situations where paid SSL may be needed, like in certain industries or for certain compliance reasons. And last but not least, pricing. I know times are tough and pricing is a major factor when selecting a provider or service. it's completely understandable. Like, nobody likes spending money. However, in my opinion, pricing should be one of the last things you consider when choosing a provider. Due to the sheer amount of hosting options out there, I think it's important to find a reputable and reliable company that fits your needs, and then determine if the pricing is right for you near the end of your purchasing decision. Don't just go for the first cheapest option you see. There's a cost of cheap hosting. And then for those who have been in the industry for a while, there's the cost of cheap hosting. So, you know, it's the cost of wasted time, the cost of business when your site goes down, the cost to your reputation when your own users for your website are unable to access or get into your website or log into their accounts or be able to view your business. It's the cost of your email going down. So pricing can vary, but the company, support, services all remain the same. So don't let pricing be the sole factor in your decision. It's important to find a company that you can establish a strong relationship with solid services and support. And for the most part, in a lot of cases, pricing is negotiable too. Prices change, but you know, good companies don't. So many reputable providers too also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So feel free to try their services, test their support teams, you know, just pick up the phone and just start spending time ordering them around, you know, just try to determine whether or not they're the right fit for you. And so with the GreenGeeks difference, you know, GreenGeeks has something for everybody. We work with a diverse group of people ranging from individuals trying to set up personal websites to WordPress developers and WordPress development agencies, and even other hosting companies who just want to resell and use our infrastructure. Having been an independent company for over 10 years, we are fortunate to be in the position we are now. We are grateful to the customers who have supported us and continue to use us for the consistent quality of service and support we provide. Hosting is a competitive industry, and this gives us our drive to always provide the best customer experience we can, as we wouldn't be around as long as we have if we weren't able to do so. So the Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend is coming up. We are offering deals this year up to 75% off on select hosting plans. If you need more information, I do have a form that you can fill out, and you know, if you have any additional questions about this talk here too, our team will be more than happy to answer that. Yeah, we basically just have some stuff coming out on the 27th. And you can also reach out to me directly. My company email is PCROUT, so pcrout at greengeeks.com. Before I end this here, I just want to sort of give a brief tour of our platform and our website, and just sort of as a new user, what you might come to expect when you first sign up with a web hosting company. So as you see here, this is our main website. Let me just get this moved over here, and let me just full screen it. Yeah. So this is GreenGeeks. You know, this is an independent green energy web hosting provider. We have our platform right here that you may be interested in. So we have solid state hard drives. You know, we run a Lightspeed web server with MariaDB. So for especially for WordPress, you know, the MariaDB database engine does have a performance edge over, you know, the conventional MySQL, and it's just a fork, so it's the same thing, but with just some optimizations made to it. We run Lightspeed Cache 2 Premium with all our shared hosting plans. We offer a free content delivery network. We have PHP 7, but we also have a PHP version selector of versions 5 through 7. And then we also support HTTP 3. And then we also, on our shared accounts, run a secure virtual file system, meaning that every single account on our shared server is independent and acts independent, kind of like a mini VPS almost, but not quite. But it does offer a really good layer of isolation from other users on the server. So if one guy were to, you know, abuse resources, your account wouldn't be affected. If his account went down, yours wouldn't. And, you know, we also do malware scanning and then also nightly backups. And we offer servers too in both Canada, the US, and Europe. So these are our plans here for WordPress. So we have mainly 3 shared hosting plans, our Lite, Pro, and Premium. Our Lite plan supports one website. Our Pro supports unlimited websites. They more or less offer the same features. However, the key difference is in computing resources, like the amount of CPU cores you have access to, the amount of RAM, the amount of like emails you're able to send out per hour. So let's say, for example, you just signed up with us and you just want to get started, but you're sort of unsure where to start. Well, you can log into our account manager here, and this brings you into what's known as your GreenGeeks dashboard. So you can see that it wanted to log me out, and I guess I will have to log back in. One moment. There we go. Apparently when you click the remember me button, it doesn't remember you long enough. So, and we also have a new security feature that just detects abnormal logins from unrecognized devices. But anyways, so this is the main GreenGeeks dashboard. You can see you have a list of your services that you have with us here. So your shared hosting account, your reseller hosting account, if you had a VPS, that would be here too. Your ticket portal. So this is how, one of the ways you can actually get in touch with our support team. So we offer support through live chat, ticket, as well as telephone. And then you also have sort of your security portal here, all the domains that you have registered with us, and also like the hosting accounts you have with us. If you are a WordPress developer working on a site for somebody else, or if you're sort of a new user, you're unfamiliar with hosting and you have somebody else working on your site for you, we just recently implemented this new feature here called account access. So basically, if you are a new WordPress user or a new web hosting user and you're kind of unsure what to do, but you know somebody who can help you, you can delegate access to your account, and then they'll be able to make limited support requests on your behalf. They'll be able to access your account, based on a set of permissions that you give them. They'll be able to help you out. So then, they can hold your hand through the process if you're a bit uncomfortable on what to do. So this is primarily our dashboard. If you're a new user, you get to just take a look. It's fairly simple. If you want to access your hosting account, you can just click on your quick login button right there. And then you're also presented with cPanel. So I know a lot of you have used cPanel and are familiar with cPanel, but as I mentioned before, it's basically just an intuitive way of managing a lot of server tasks. So you can see sort of your IP address, your primary website, your resource usage. If you wanted to add additional websites to your hosting account, you can do that through the add-ons domains feature. You can create email addresses. So then, you can just get an inbox set up and start sending and receiving email. All that stuff is available to you within cPanel. And you can also see here our WordPress Manager by GreenGeeks. If you want to get a WordPress installation or instance set up right away, once you're in cPanel, just click on that, click on the install button, and then there you go. You already have something set up. So as you can see, it's a fairly intuitive way of, even if you don't have any technical or web development experience, it's a way for you to just sort of get a head start and, get your feet wet and, just learn, just begin that journey on sort of building your WordPress website. And of course, if you need help, we're always accessible, so you can access our live chat. We also have telephone and ticket. We're always there, so if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out. So I'm gonna go send this back to Joe if he wants to come in. I really appreciate you guys tuning in here. Of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Myself and my team, we're always happy to help.
All right, great job, Philip. We do have a few questions that were in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll get to some of those, and we'll just work our way through. I'll start at the bottom here and work our way back up. I just wanted to mention, I love the one-click options for installing WordPress. I know personally, I just like to spin them up fast, and having the ability to do that is a great option. Okay, let's get to a question here. Okay, I have many WordPress sites, nothing special outside of WordPress. What are the advantages or disadvantages of using WordPress dedicated versus cPanel WHM?
Yeah, so if you have, it really depends on what the sites are doing. Steve, do you have any more information about what kind of sites these are? Are they are they just blogs? Are they informational? Are they
They're
running e-commerce?
they're straight up informational. I mean,
Yeah.
restaurants and stuff like that. I mean, bartending schools. I mean, they're not nothing. No e-commerce.
Yeah.
I mean, really nothing special outside of like typical WordPress. I mean, there might be like we might use the product capabilities of WooCommerce that makes it real easy. For like my mobile home site, got a bunch of mobile home models, so we put up like 163 WooCommerce, but they don't buy. There's no checkout, so it's really all just like straight up WordPress sites. And right now I use cPanel and WHM, and I just always see this like your hosting plan for it's like a tenth of what I pay. For your pro, it's like a tenth of what I pay for one of my hosts. So like, what's the advantage of going that route?
Yeah, so usually the way I compare it is when you have a lot of WordPress specialized providers, you're basically like a lot of them like to target power users or people who have really high performance expectations or demands for their website. If you're just running like informational websites or websites that don't have a lot of intense processes or anything going on, they're all just informational, then like a sort of a cPanel WHM setup with a shared hosting provider can get the job done, as you mentioned, Steve, at a fraction of the cost. So
well, yours is way cheaper, but you're hosting like the $11.95 per month is 10% of what I pay for my hosting.
Yeah, so yeah, we run a general like a hosting environment. So not only you can host WordPress, but you can host other lab applications as well. What I see with a lot of things like with Flywheel or WP Engine and all that, they are extremely specialized. And when you start getting to the point where you have these sites that these larger sites that you really need to squeeze out every bit of performance you can, then a lot of people are willing to sort of pay that premium for those WordPress specialized sites. But if they're just sort of general websites, then you can get away with a lot of the cheaper shared hosting companies.
Well, I don't know that performance is something that we want to sacrifice. I mean, I just wonder, like, is that the difference, that the ones I pay the money for, I have greater performance? I mean, I don't see everything of what I have offered through like Liquid Web or InMotion through my current hosts on this, but I mean, like I have VPS hosting. I mean, what's the difference? What's the difference?
Yeah, I know. They just want to basically, they have a niche market in mind, and then they charge accordingly. But sometimes there's no need to overcomplicate things with websites. If a cheaper hosting provider gets the job done with no performance sacrifices, then why not just use that instead? So yeah, I think it's just niche. It's a niche market and niche pricing that a lot of those dedicated WordPress hosts like to offer. They're going after sort of a whole different subset of users.
All right. Our next question is about support. Can you talk a little bit more about support? Do all plans have them, or can you differentiate the types of support? I know you mentioned you can put a ticket in, but do you get face-to-face chat, or can you describe a little bit about how support works with GreenGeeks?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we offer 24/7 support. So we have 3 ways that you can get in touch with us. We have live chat on our website. We have tickets. So if you send us an email, you can also use our ticketing system to just open up a request. Or we also have real-time phone support. So if you're running into an issue and then you want to pick up the phone and give us a call, we'll have a phone agent sort of help you out and get you through that. I'm actually happy to say that there's no different levels of support that we offer now. In the past, our VPS services were unmanaged, meaning that if you ran into any issues, you were sort of on your own. You would be responsible for the server that you ordered. But even recently, our VPS plans are fully managed, the same with our with our shared plans. So now, like if you're running into an issue, no matter if you have a reseller account, a VPS plan, or a shared plan, you can count on the same level of support. Doesn't matter if you're just on our lightest plan or on our heaviest plan. We make sure that every customer's issue is treated promptly and seriously.
What would you say is like a common mistake that people make when they decide on hosting? Do they buy too much? Do they not buy enough? Or what would you say is something that you commonly hear?
Yeah, no, I've run into situations where, say, for example, a customer has maybe a small informational site. He's looking or going off like sort of the advice of maybe a friend or a developer or somebody that he's working with to buy something that to oversell him on something that he might not actually need. So if, like maybe a pro or a premium plan might do him well, you have somebody who wants him to get maybe a dedicated server when that might not be entirely justified, especially if they're just starting out or they're just getting things started. You don't need to jump to the highest plan right away. You can sort of scale up as time moves on and then your needs evolve. So I would say, just people, just sort of a bit confused on maybe thinking that they might need a bit more than they actually need, and then they can actually do well and also save money going with a different type of plan altogether.
Okay. Our next question. Are GreenGeeks servers located here on the West Coast or all around? Can you talk a little bit about where your servers are located?
Yeah, so we have servers in I believe it's Montreal, Chicago. We do have servers in Phoenix, but right now those are full, so we aren't provisioning any more accounts on them. And then we also have servers in Amsterdam in the European Union. So our Amsterdam servers are also GDPR compliant. This is important if you're dealing with European customers. You want to make sure that you have a provider and a server and a host that's GDPR compliant for those local laws.
Awesome. Is shared hosting sufficient for a WooCommerce site? What factors require upsizing when you outgrow your site in terms of traffic?
Yeah, so I would say, yeah, we do run a lot of WooCommerce sites on shared hosting. I mean, one thing I would look for, of course, is, like CPU power, RAM, IO, and like one thing that can even help you out when you're on shared hosting to sort of give you that extra edge is the use of caching and a content delivery network. Say, for example, you're worried about traffic or, people accessing your site. When you run a content delivery network, you're basically introducing a buffer between, people trying to visit your website and the server itself. And that in a way can sort of lessen the burden of performance on the server because data is being served from a local CDN node rather than the server itself in some cases. But just the way our servers are configured, especially with the RAM allotments that we offer and the CPU allotments that we offer on our Pro and our premium plans, they're more than sufficient to run a WooCommerce site.
Cool. And I'm going to open it up to the floor. Can you talk a little bit about, do you offer hosting options that support multi-site, WordPress multi-site?
Yeah, so all our plans do support multi-site. So then you should be able to enable that. I believe it's when you're in the installer, you should be able to enable multi-site.
Awesome. All right, so enough of hearing me. Does anyone in the group have any questions for Philip? Looks like something just popped into the chat. And feel free to unmute yourself and jump in if you need. Lynn has a question. You want to go ahead and ask it?
Oh, yeah, this is probably a really dumb question. I was wondering, do you also provide email addresses? For example, if I had my name at ccb.org.
Yeah, absolutely. Lynn, yeah, we do support email addresses, and you can actually create as many as you want. It's kind of already built into the sort of to the server environment. And so if you go into cPanel and you click on the emails feature, it will allow you to create email addresses for all the different websites you have connected to your account.
Oh, excellent. And also, if I were to create this and they started using it, and at a later time I decided, okay, I'm going to hand over administration to somebody else within the organization,
Mm-hmm.
I could then have them create their own GreenGeeks package and move it so it's off of my stuff.
Yeah, so you have a couple of options. If you want somebody else to just manage it completely for you, of course, like you could sort of have them create their own account and then transfer things over. What I would recommend though, and we just launched this feature, like believe it or not, a couple of days ago, is our account access delegation tool. So as a user, you know, if you have your website and your account set up, but you want to grant permission to somebody else to work on your website with limited permissions and privileges, you can grant them access to your account through that tool. And that also is good for sort of just like, you know, paper trail reasons. You know, you want to make sure that somebody, you know, if somebody's trying to make changes to your site, you know exactly who it is. And if you don't want them to make changes to your site anymore, you can revoke that permission. So it's something that's now available by default in your account dashboard.
Okay, and that's for all of the levels of the package, not just like the premium one.
That's right, yeah. So it's a part of the actual, like the account profile. So basically it allows you to select which packages on your account you want certain people to have access to. So it's not restricted, it's not particular to a certain package, it's not a feature of a certain package. It's something that we provide account-wide for all our customers.
Okay. Yeah, because ideally, you know, once I learn, I'd like to teach other people the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. I don't like having a single point of, you know, failure.
Yeah, one shortfall that we like I've encountered before where people who improperly like, you know, give their account credentials to somebody else, and then that person tries to make, you know, changes to their site, or, you know, there becomes a break in the relationship and, you know, stuff goes wrong, and it's harder to sort of it turns a lot into like a he said she said situation where it's hard to track who was authorized to make changes. So with this account, this access delegation tool, you know, it just makes it easier. You want somebody to work on your site, grant them access. You don't want that anymore, revoke the access, and you don't even have to share your login credentials.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, anyone else? All right. That was a great presentation, Philip.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
It's good. Very good.
And Erica, I want you to chime in for a minute. Do you deal with the same topics, or are you? What do you do with GreenGeeks? And tell us a little bit about that.
I work in the partners team. I work with the affiliates at GreenGeeks, and I have also part of the webinars team this year. So I am doing that.
Erica
Okay.
does a great job.
Oh, nice. Do you have any webinars that are coming up that you could tell us about, or what do you have planned?
Yes, we are going to have a webinar. I think it's the last webinar from this year. Is this December 5, but it's in Spanish because this year we improve also with the Spanish language, and this is our last webinar, I think. It's about WooCommerce and WordPress.
Well, we know in Southern California, that's not an issue.
Yes. Okay, you see, all I invited if you want to come
Okay,
that day.
great. Thank you. All right. Yeah, Philip, I really appreciate you coming in. As I mentioned, this time of year for our members is really valuable, especially like you mentioned, Lynn, if you're thinking about building a site and spinning something up and getting some real experience doing it, you can find a good deal at this time of the year. So as they become available, I'm going to make them. I'll send out a notice to our member group as well as the folks that attended here, because I feel like this is a great time to save on some of the hosting and different services in the WordPress community.
Oh,
So
I'd appreciate that. I had one more question though,
sure,
Philip.
go for it. Go for it.
Absolutely.
Do you know if your control panel is accessible with JAWS or a screen reader?
Uh, I don't know for certain, and I don't want to give you a wrong answer. Is it okay if I look up on this for you and follow up with you at a later time?
Sure. And I guess the other thing is I could just try it myself too. Okay,
No,
yeah,
absolutely. That's always the option too, is you can always try it for yourself. And like, we always encourage that because the experience is different for everybody. But yeah, I don't have that answer right off the top of my head for you, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, if there aren't any other questions, we're going to sort of wrap it up here. And again, thanks, Philip, for joining us from Vancouver. We had 2 people from Vancouver.
Yeah, I think Ross is from Vancouver too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. And we had Erica from Costa Rica. That's one of, before COVID hit, I was going to speak at WordCamp Europe in Porto. I was going to go there, and I wanted to go to Costa Rica also, but neither one of those happened. So hopefully,
Nice. Maybe next year.
yeah, when things open up, I definitely want to come down.
Yeah.
So. All right.
Next week we have the WordCamp in Mexico, and we are going to have a trivia from in the GreenGeeks booth.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like different prizes. I think it's 25, 50, 100, or?
Yes. We are going to have a trivia with questions about WordPress and WordCamps and GreenGeeks.
Awesome. Oh, that sounds like a winner.
I just wanted to, sorry I did interrupt you, I just wanted to chime in. I left a link for a form if anybody wants to fill that out or wants more information, just feel free to just fill it out there, and myself or just a member of my team will be happy to work with you and answer your questions.
And what we're going to do, we're recording this, so I'll make the video available, as well as if you want, you can go over to the bottom of the chat and click on the triple dots and save down the chat, which has a lot of that information also, before we sign off. All right. So as we close, I want to get some closing thoughts on what people thought about today's presentation. Starting with Joe, what did you think?
Oh, I'm actually a fairly new customer myself, so I appreciated the dashboard walkthrough. I sort of just like dove in and started using it, got what I needed to get done, and then walked away pretty quickly. I've used your support over tickets, which is pretty good. And so I just wanted to mention that, because whenever I send support tickets, it's at odd hours and they get responded to. So
Were you planted in this meetup?
No. It just so happens that when I did sign up, I was migrating a site from my personal blog from DigitalOcean, where I did some, weird, crazy stuff. And I was like, okay, I don't need to do that anymore. And it's a more stable website. And then, of course, there was the DNS move over. That was a little problematic, only because, it takes like 48 hours for those things to propagate. So support was able to help me out through that. So
you're an advanced user. How would you describe the process to someone that's new? For instance, like Lynn, someone who's just starting up. So you moved from one host to another. What did you have to do?
So on the old host, I do everything through like a bash terminal, which is like really stupid, geeky stuff. And I just sort of got tired of self-managing stuff that could be automated through like what Philip mentioned. Don't do it if you don't have to. Hand it off to people that do it for you. And it was just a personal blog. It was stupid easy. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, the one-click installation was like super quick, and it was up and running. So, and the support was responsive. So I literally have no complaints.
Awesome. What about you, Julius? What did you think of tonight's meetup? And if you have any announcements or anything you want to throw out to the group, I know at the beginning you talked a little bit about what you were looking for. If you have any announcements or anything, I'd open it up to the floor as well.
Yeah, I don't have any announcements outside of, if anybody would like to get a hold of me and has any questions, definitely visit us at our site, or just shoot me an email at julius@trimesa.com. As far as presentation, no, Philip, that was great, informative. Got a lot of good info out of what it is you guys are doing. I like that you guys are trying to keep the green footprint. That's very cool. I know that that's like where everybody, I would hope, needs to be right now, seeing how things are going, but we'll step out of getting any deeper than that. But no, fantastic what you've got going on. And although I don't have any need right now to move any of the sites I have to a different hosting provider, I'm pretty satisfied where I'm at. It's good to know that that is one key differential you guys offer, is the green platform you guys are working off of. So very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Steve, Larry?
I'm good, man. He answered it. I mean, forever I've wondered the difference between like the WordPress dedicated and what I typically have: reseller, cPanel, WHM. And I mean, aside from no reseller aspect, I think I could move some of my sites to a much cheaper option. So I might look at doing that.
Awesome. How many sites would you say that you service in terms of your customer?
Oh, I have like 30 right now. So
Oh, okay.
like
Wow.
20 on InMotion and 10 on 20 on Liquid Web and 10 on InMotion.
Well, I have a question for Philip, and this comes up from time to time. In terms of hosting, you often see unlimited sites. Do all of your plans offer unlimited, or is there different tiers, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when we mention unlimited, we don't want to just sort of introduce any barriers for people to run a successful web presence. For unlimited sites, those are available on both our Pro Premium and our Reseller VPS plans. For our EcoSite Lite plan, which is our entry-level plan, that only supports one website. So if you have more than one website, you're going to want to go look for either a Pro Premium or a different class of hosting there.
Okay, awesome. Larry, why don't you finish this up?
I thought it was a great presentation, Philip. You gave a lot of information that any of us can use to do good comparative shopping. Like, I feel like I know what to look for now when I do look at, hosting options. And what you guys offer looks great. The pricing looks really good. The sale price, that's for the entry, like just for 1 month, and then it goes into the regular price, or is there like 1 year at the cheap price and then it goes up? Like you didn't mention anything about that. That's something that you can look at later. That's just good to know. But all in all, I also agree with Julius that the green approach is the way to go, and that's something that definitely draws me in. And like Julius said, we should all be concerned about that right now. It should be everybody's number one concern. And that's pretty much it. It was a great presentation. I learned a lot from you, man. Thank you so much.
And you made us all very hungry with the carnies in the background. Yeah, there's for those that aren't in Southern California, there's a longstanding chain here that's in a caboose of a car, or I'm not sure if it's a caboose. And they serve hot dogs, burgers, shakes. It's like an old style diner on wheels. So
Chicago style hot dogs and burgers. And yeah, it's a railroad car. We call it the train. It's like, let's go to the train. We don't even call it carnies. It's the train.
and I didn't want to skip over you, Kim. I know you were tired. I want to get your thoughts too, if you're up to it. Oh, you're muted. You're still muted.
It was about that interesting. I tricked myself because I turned my camera on and it felt like I unmuted. It was a great presentation. Thank you. It was good review, and I liked seeing the back end of your service there. So really helpful. Thanks.
Awesome. How many folks are mainly on the front end and the admin and the WordPress admin, or how many of us do a lot of the work on the back end in the control panel, like a show of hands? Or
I'm on the back end. I'm doing it all from, we actually do our own, we have an account with OpenSRS. We'll even do your domains if you were looking for that too. So, but yeah.
Awesome.
Same thing, same.
I'm more front end, but I'm always looking for better service there. And one of them is taken care, the back end's taken care of by the developer. So I don't even see it.
Awesome.
So whole smorgasbord for me.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to 8:30 and the end of this meetup. So thanks again to Erica and Philip for stopping in, and especially Philip for doing such a great presentation. I know you said it was your first time. That was pretty awesome. Did you have butterflies, or were you a little nervous, or?
Maybe next time I'll bring slides.
Nice. You'll find out whenever you do a meetup, the first thing people will say, is this recorded, and do you have slides? So
I feel like I'm in college all over again.
oh, there you go. Awesome. But you did a great job. So thanks again.
Thank you.
For
No, thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, again, like I said, we're on YouTube. I'll put the link on the meetup event to the YouTube video, as well as I'll make this chat available. And I look forward to seeing you next month. What we have coming up is we're going to have someone from WooCommerce in next month to talk a little bit about that tool, as well as if you're in the WordPress podcast community, do the Woo or Bob WP. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's going to stop in and talk about WordPress as well. So in December, that's what we're going to do, and we're going to have a few more exciting things. I want to really find out from the community what we'd like to do in 2021. And in the spring of next year, we're going to do our third online WordCamp for Santa Clarita. So keep an eye out for that as well. All right. So with that, thanks everybody for coming. It was great seeing everybody. And thanks again.
Thank you, Joe.
Nice meeting you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. See you later.
Thank you, Phil.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Thanks so
folks.
much.
All right.
Bye.
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 Bye.